Hello, my name is Bradley and I'm your host of The Internal Game. Before I get into today's video, I would like to remind you that if you want to work with me, you can check out the description box of this video and there's a link in there that will take you to my website where you can book a one-on-one Zoom session. Also, we have a membership side to this channel where we do more videos. We have monthly challenges where we put out a video each week for the monthly challenge, and we have 2 weekly live streams. Okay, so again, the link is to both of those are in the description box. Okay, to the video. I had a mentor one time that told me, Bradley, if you stay in the basics, you never have to go back to it. I was like, what? He's like, listen, if you stay in the basics, you never have to go back to the basics. So what that looks like is this whole manifesting game, right? This manifesting game, it's a game of reflection. It's real simple, right? It's not something that you try to do. It's not something that you try to force. It is just a reflection of you and like what you're aware of, like, and what you are aware of. It's an internal game of awareness. That's it, right? I know there's a lot of content. I know there's a lot of different information. I know there's a lot of other people that aren't even talking about law of assumption or the law or anything like that. That talk about relationships, that talk about money, that talk about a bunch of different things. So there's a lot of stuff out there, especially when we're scrolling, right? And sometimes it can get really confusing as to what to believe, what not to believe. I think this person may be right, but over here, this seems like this person's saying something different, all this stuff, right? And we want to not get outside of ourselves, not get ahead of ourselves, not confuse ourselves, and get back to the basics, because if you stay in the basics, you never have to go back to them. And what the basics looks like is this: inside first, outside second, right? It looks like imagination is the only reality. It looks like as within, so without, right? Like when Neville Goddard said, what could you be concerned about if you truly believed that imagination was the only reality? I'm with him on this. Right? A lot of things seem like, oh man, it maybe seem overwhelming, but do you really believe it's inside first, outside second? Like, let's just say you're trying to manifest a relationship, right? That's your intention here. Let's just say what it is. And let's just say that that's your intention, is to get a person, manifest a relationship, whatever. Then ideally, we want to remind ourselves that it's inside first, outside second, because there's a lot of relationship content out there, even outside, mainly outside of the law, like the law of attraction stuff or law of assumption stuff and the awareness stuff, all that stuff. There's a lot of stuff out there that's like, hey, all women are this. Hey, all men are this. Hey, watch out. Women are sneaky. Women are this. Hey, watch out. Men lie. This, right? And then we're like, oh, shit. Like, my person has been doing some stuff like that. Or you start looking at the person like that and you start creating that stuff. Either way, it's you that's doing it. It's you that's agreeing to these beliefs. It's you that's seeing this content and you're like, you know what? I think they're right because my person's kind of a jerk. Hey, I think they're right because I've been seeing that myself too. Remember, get back to the basics. Stop confusing yourself. Inside first, outside second. There's a lot of things that are going on out there that are true for other people that don't have to be true for you. Because your imagination is creating your reality. Your state of being is creating your reality, right? If you heard something that's like, all women do this, and you're like, nah, not to me, they don't. All men do this. Oh, that's never been my experience. Never gonna be. Then guess what? It's not your experience. But if you're in a fearful state, that's why I always talk about the importance of being in a stable place. Because if you're in a fearful place, trying to get a person, manifest a relationship, and you're watching this type of content, these relationship style content, and they're talking about the opposite sex being this way, and watch out this, and watch out for this, and if they text this and this means this, and if they don't text, that means they don't care, and if they wanted to, they would. All this stuff. That's pretty much saying that these people have some sort of free will in your reality because they don't know any better, which is okay. That everything isn't a reflection, and that pretty much you're a victim. But no hate on them because they just don't know any better. They don't know the law, obviously, right? Which is okay. But be careful when you're watching this stuff in a fearful place, because the chances of you buying into it are pretty high because you're like, oh, this makes sense. This is what happened to me. yeah, this makes sense because like, yeah, I did see them do some stuff like that. Yeah, you know what? I think this person's right because like they were being shady and they are being distant. It's like, okay, well, let's take a step back here. Everyone is yourself pushed out. As within, so without. Inside first, outside second. All the little imagination that they used to be entertaining back in the day created the current circumstance. Because imagination is the only reality. And if you're watching all this different types of content and you're buying into this and buying into that, buying into this, buying into that, it's the same thing as buying into every thought that you get. And you start creating stuff based on the influence that you agreed to. So back to the basics. If watching other content like that is tripping you up, stop watching it. You want to be in a place where you're scrolling through something and if you're trying to get a relationship or something and you're scrolling through your phone or whatever and you see like, oh, all women do this, you're like, that ain't got nothing to do with me. Shoot, keep going. All men do this. Oh, that ain't got nothing to do with me. Keep going. You don't want to be honing in on it in a fearful place, being like, oh man, is that what's happening? Because congratulations, now it is. So you don't want to do that, okay? And again, a lot easier from a stable place. We should always be trying to maintain our stability, no matter what, right? Because manifestation, like all this stuff that we're talking about, is not it's not something you try to do. It's an automatic reflection of what you have going on within. The outside is you. The outside is only a reflection of inside. So we're not trying to manipulate something outside. We're not trying to force things outside. We're not trying to play games back and forth with people on text messages and phones like these dating coaches or whatever tell us to do, right? I actually have no idea what people say or what they don't say, but I know that people come to me with this stuff. And I have to remind them, hey, inside first, outside second. We don't want to be fearing things. We don't want to be walking around like fearing everything. We don't want to be scrolling through our phone just getting in like even more fearful of something because, oh no, was this what's happening? No, it's not. Like, it's not what's happening for you anymore. At least deciding to get a drink. Anyway, back to the basics, right? Inside first, outside second. I know I say it all the time, but I can't say it enough because this is the actual reality. There's so many different little realities around here. There's so many different focal points of the universe experiencing itself as a human being. So many. And depending on what this little universal focal points believe to be true and what they have their awareness on is what they experience. And the same is true for you. What you have going on within here is what you experience. If you don't want, like if you're reading some or listening to some content, it's like, man, people are shady, this or this, then you just say, oh, that doesn't apply to me. And you put your awareness on like a loving, harmonious vibe, like put that in your awareness with this person. Don't try to create a bunch of meaning as to what all these things mean and start looking at your person like, oh, are they being shady? You know what, that person did say something about that and they have been doing that like that. Like this is not what you want to be doing. Everything is neutral. Everything's neutral. And depending on our state of being, here's another back to basics for you. Depending on our state of being, like whatever state of being we're in, that's how we view it. That's how we're viewing things. It's through these lenses of our state of being. That's it. So if we're more stable, we can actually see things as neutral. Like, oh, whatever, I'm going to create a different meaning for this now. I'm going to create something in my favor because I'm stable. I don't need anything to be any kind of way. I'm good right now. If you are fearful watching this type of content, you're going to start creating these little meanings that are not in favor of what you say that you want. So get out of the fearful state, doing things like, oh, that's just a thought. That's just a thought. That ain't got nothing to do with me. That's just a thought. That's just a thought. That ain't got nothing to do with me. You see something? So what? I don't care about that. I'm doing this now. Like you keep it moving. Keep it light. No fear. Just a thought. You don't have to buy into stuff. You don't have to buy into content. You don't have to buy into thoughts. You don't have to buy into circumstances. All these things do not matter. All that matters is what you're doing within. If you hear something I'm saying and you're like, man, I like rocking with that, and you want to adopt that, then rock on with it. If you don't, then dismiss it. Same thing with everybody. You have your own focal point. And consciousness, your state of consciousness, what you have going on within is the only reality for you. It doesn't matter what anybody says about women this, men this, money that. It doesn't matter what anybody says. It matters what you say. It matters what you entertain. It matters about you. All that matters is your awareness. Get back to the basics. Don't be scared of content. Everyone's just preaching from their level of awareness, wherever they're at. That's it. That's it. In your reality, nothing's bigger than you. Look at content as the same as like a thought. Like it has no power until you say that it does. That's it. So, because it needs you to believe it to be true in your world. That's it. Just like a thought. That's why, like, if you want to stabilize, then things are just a thought. You don't need to buy into it. And then from there, place your awareness on whatever reality you want. There are so many different things. I've seen so many different things, like on the internet and real life, all these different things, how people live their life. And you're like, what? I don't even know people were doing stuff like that. Yeah, of course they are. Because everyone has their own little way of doing things. They have their awareness. There's infinite possibilities. And depending on your awareness is what you experience. That's it. So remember that when you are listening to dating advice. Remember that when you are listening to money advice. Remember that when you're listening to health advice on what you should eat, what you shouldn't. All this stuff. Get back to the basics and remember, inside first, outside second. Consciousness is the only reality. And what is there to be concerned about if I truly believe that my imagination creates reality? Okay? Get back to the basics. I love you guys. See you soon.